Here are two ideas that feel like they live in completely different worlds. The first is the area trapped underneath a curve. The second is the steepness or slope of a curve. Today I want to convince you that these two things are secretly the same idea, just seen from opposite directions. Let's begin with just one smooth curve stretched across the screen. Think of it as the outline of a rolling hill, or the reading on some meter as time passes. For now, forget any formula and simply hold the shape in your mind. The first thing we might ask about this curve is how much area sits underneath it. Picture filling in the space between the curve and the flat ground below. That colored-in region is what we mean by the area under the curve. Now, area sounds simple, but it hides a real difficulty. This shape has a curved top, so we can't just multiply length times width like we would for a rectangle. Curves resist those tidy formulas, and for centuries that made areas genuinely hard to pin down. Set the area aside for a moment and look at the second idea, slope. If you zoom in on any single point of the curve and lay a straight line right against it, that line has a certain tilt. A steep tilt means the curve is climbing fast. A gentle tilt means it's barely changing. Slope is really just a rate of change. It answers the question, as I nudge forward a little, how quickly is the height rising or falling right now? A tall, steep slope is fast change, a flat slope is slow change. So we have two very different feeling questions. One is about total accumulated area, a big global quantity. The other is about instantaneous steepness, a tiny local quantity. It seems almost absurd that they'd have anything to do with each other. And yet, by the end of this video, you'll see that finding area and finding slope are inverse operations, perfect opposites, like adding and subtracting, or multiplying and dividing. That surprising link is called the Fundamental Theorem of Calculus. Let's build it up piece by piece. The key trick is to stop treating the area as one fixed number and instead let it grow. Imagine a vertical line standing on the axis, and slide it slowly from left to right. Everything to the left of that line, underneath the curve, gets painted in as we go. At every position of that sweeping line, there's a specific amount of area painted so far. When the line is near the start, only a sliver is filled. As the line moves right, more and more area accumulates behind it. Let's give this accumulated area a name, and call it the area so far function. You hand it a position along the axis, and it tells you how much area has piled up to the left of that position. It's a machine. Input a location, output an area. Now here's the beautiful move. Since this area so far value changes as we slide the line, we can plot it as its own brand new curve. Below the original curve, let's draw a second graph tracking how the accumulated area grows with position. Watch what happens to this new curve as the line sweeps. Wherever the original curve is tall, a lot of area gets added with each step, so the area so far curve shoots upward steeply. Wherever the original curve is low, barely any area is added, so the new curve rises only gently. Do you feel the connection tightening? The height of the original curve seems to control the steepness of the area so far curve. Tall means steep, short means shallow. The height up top is dictating the slope down below. That's a strong hunch, but let's make it exact. To measure the steepness of the area so far curve at some position, we nudge the sweeping line just a tiny bit further to the right and ask how much extra area got added. Look closely at that freshly added piece. It's a thin vertical strip. Its width is the tiny step we took, and its height is roughly the height of the curve right there. It's almost a skinny rectangle. And the area of a skinny rectangle is easy, width times height. So the extra area we gained is approximately the tiny step in width, multiplied by the height of the curve at that spot. Hold on to that, it's the heart of everything. But the slope of the area so far curve is exactly the extra area divided by the tiny step in width. When we take our expression, extra area equals width times height, and divide by that same width, the widths cancel out completely. What's left is simply the height of the original curve. The slope of the accumulated area curve at any position equals the height of the original curve at that same position. The hunch is now a fact. One honest worry. We said the sliver was only approximately a rectangle because the curve's top is slightly slanted. But as we shrink the tiny step toward zero, that slant matters less and less. In the limit, the approximation becomes perfectly exact. Let's say the punchline out loud. If you build the area so far function by accumulating area under a curve, then the slope of that area function gives you back the original curve. Accumulating area and taking a slope undo each other. This is the fundamental theorem of calculus. In plain words, the operation that finds area and the operation that finds slope are inverses of one another. Do one, then the other, and you return to where you started. It earns the word fundamental because it stitches together the two great halves of calculus. One half is about accumulation and totals, the other is about rates and steepness. For a long time these grew up separately, and this theorem revealed they were always two sides of one coin. If the abstraction still feels slippery, let's ground it in something you already know: driving a car. Imagine a graph of your speed as time goes by. The height of that graph, at any moment, is how fast you're going. Here's the first direction of the link. Your speed is the rate at which your distance is changing. In other words, speed is the slope of your distance graph. Push the pedal and the distance graph steepens. Now the reverse direction, which is exactly our area idea. The total distance you've traveled is the accumulated area under the speed graph. Go fast for a while and you sweep out a lot of area, which means a lot of distance covered. So distance and speed are inverse partners. Speed is the slope of distance. Distance is the area under speed. That's the fundamental theorem wearing everyday clothes. The same relationship holds for any curve you like. This inverse relationship is not just pretty, it's enormously useful. Remember that finding the area under a curved shape looked hopeless at the start. The theorem hands us a shortcut around all that difficulty. The shortcut is this. To find the area under a curve, don't chop it into a million tiny strips and add them up. Instead, hunt for a function whose slope is the curve you care about. That function is your ready-made area accumulator. A function whose slope matches a given curve is called an antiderivative. The name literally says it. It's the reverse of taking a slope. Finding one turns the impossible-looking area problem into a much friendlier puzzle. Let's test all of this on the simplest possible curve, a flat, horizontal line at constant height. The area under it, up to some position, is just a rectangle. Its area is that height times how far along we've swept. Plot that area against position and you get a straight, upward slanting line, because the area grows at a steady pace. And what's the slope of a straight line? A constant. Sure enough, that constant equals the height of our flat curve. It checks out perfectly. Now bump up the difficulty a notch to a straight line that slants upward from zero. The area under it, up to some position, is a triangle. And a triangle's area grows faster and faster as it widens, because both the base and the height are increasing. Plot that accumulating triangular area and you get a graceful upward curving shape, one that bends steeper and steeper. Its slope starts small and keeps growing, and that growing slope traces out exactly our original slanted line. Once again, slope of the area gives back the curve. Notice the pattern across both examples. Accumulating area always produced a function one level more built up than the curve, and taking its slope peeled that level right back off. That peeling and building is the inverse dance at the center of calculus. There's one last practical detail. Usually we don't want all the area from the far left. We want the area over a specific stretch, say from one marked point to another. Call them the start and the end of the region we care about. The theorem handles this cleanly. Take your area so far function, evaluate it at the end point, and subtract its value at the start point. The area piled up to the end, minus the area piled up to the start, leaves exactly the area in between. This is the everyday recipe people actually use. Find an antiderivative, plug in the end, plug in the start, and subtract. A problem that once demanded adding up infinitely many slivers collapses into two evaluations and one subtraction. Step back and appreciate what just happened. Infinity was the whole obstacle. A curved area seemed to require summing endlessly many pieces. The fundamental theorem quietly sidesteps that infinity by trading it for the reverse of a slope. Let's retrace the whole journey in one breath. We started with a curve and asked for the area beneath it, a hard global question. We let that area accumulate as we swept rightward, turning it into its own function. Then we measured the steepness of that accumulation function and, through a thin sliver of area, discovered it was nothing but the original curve's height. Accumulating area and measuring slope turned out to be perfect opposites. That single insight let us compute stubborn areas by simply reversing a slope, and to grab any stretch of area by subtracting two values of the area function, two ancient, unrelated-seeming problems forever joined. The next time you see the swoop of a curve, try to hold both readings at once. Its height is telling you a rate, how fast something is changing right now, and the area it sweeps out is telling you a total, how much has accumulated so far. Rate and total, slope and area, are just two languages describing the same motion. The fundamental theorem of calculus is the dictionary that translates between them. Once you own that dictionary, the whole subject opens up. Thanks for sweeping through it with me. If this made it click, subscribe for more visual math.